Yeah. So today we will talk about the security testing that will be in general about the secure software development, but particularly we will be focusing on the two things, which is the mobile app and the web apps. So web apps are the websites. Just considering them, the two of them as the case study to understand the things in a more better. So, sorry, as you remember that as a secure software engineer, you are responsible, or we were discussing about so many different concepts that how we can follow those concepts on the each phase or step of the software development phase of the SDLC, or in other words, we can say that we try to follow the secure SDLC. So in that, we were focusing that how even we may have a secure design, how even we may have secure requirement collections, how we may have even secure coding, how we may have to follow the different secure standards, how we can go for the threat modeling, how we can see for the risk assessment, how we can means apply the security from the each phase from where we started our software development process. So in those all steps, a quick recap that when a software developers, software engineers, they are designing, they are going ahead with all of these phases. We as a security engineer, we are the one who make it sure, verify all the steps using the different approaches that what we just referred, and to make sure that all of them are going securely. So at the end of the day, we can be able to have a secure product. But a major shift in the thought or in the approach is there. That's why we are discussing about those steps. That major difference is that for previous all of the phases, while we as a security engineer, we were thinking about all of the phases that how and what are the aspects where we can apply, how we can mold them, how we can change them, how we can update them, how we can add the few things, or how and what requirements we can remove. So, how we can make it secure. That was our approach. And now, when we are means reaching here to the security testing, again, our baseline approach is the same, but how we make sure that the everything is going secure. But the difference of thought here is, as you know, that the security testing are even only the testing and validation processes whatever we are doing. So they are only to test and verify that whatever the software we build or whatever the things we prepare or whatever the prototype we done. So is it working accordingly or not? And is it able to work under these some specific circumstances or not? But this, when we talk about the secure testing, then it means that will be a different aspect from the general testing. And that is a different aspect from the means past things what we were discussing and what we were just a minute ago. What is that difference? How and why we are saying that this is the different thought here? So that is actually when we are going for the secure testing, you as a security engineer need to think like a hacker, need to think like a means red team person, need to think like you are means this software or this product or this app is not belongs to you, but you are the hacker, and how and from what ways you can be able to damage this one. from where you can exploit it, from where and how you can use its vulnerabilities, how you can be able to create a threat for this product. So this is the difference of thought when we talk about the security testing. So the security testing is not only a testing, which is generally we have the testing in other cases, but in this testing, we have to be means acting or thinking like a hacker, like a negative, like a red team person. Why? The reason is that you are not negative. Reason is that you are not hacker. But the reason is, if suppose you will think on that lines, then only you will be able to find out even a hidden weakness, even a hidden point of exploitation, even any the sort of the problem or issue in the software. So you will be able to pinpoint that from where is the loophole. And then only you will be able to suggest that how you can overcome or remove this one. Because this is the secure testing, still the product is in your hands. So you can pinpoint, you can find out, and then you can be able to address before you release it. But if suppose you will not start thinking or not doing on these guidelines, only you are just going for the general testing, then it means that is not means known as a secure testing, and that will not help with respect to the security as well. So this is the difference of thought here while you are reaching to the secure testing. So this is how the secure or security testing is different from the general testing, which is the baseline difference you are supposed to understand. And then now we are going ahead with the means few of the case studies as a sample that how we can consider for the mobile app and the web app. So this is only the case studies, but then we will be using the same approach or the same means criteria for any of our other product or our other software as well. So this is how this chapter is different from others, and this is how when we start, you need to understand it, what we mean by the security testing and why we are including here the mobile app and the the web apps. So now from here you can see that in Android, we know that there are so many security risks. In website, we know that there are so many security risks. And how we know? Generally, everybody knows. But you as a security engineer, you know more specific. How and why I'm saying that? Because you already done with your two of the assessments and your lab sessions. But specifically, when you generate your reports, you find out the bugs, you find out the vulnerabilities in your running softwares. And most of you already chose the website, so you can find out that how many vulnerabilities and issues are there, even beyond your imaginations. So these are two of the common different apps which are means mostly in use, and they are not secure as if we compare to the other standard softwares as compared to the other standard products. So that's why we are considering this one, because everybody is well aware and everybody is means mostly using this one. Everybody is the user either for the mobile app or either for the different web apps. So now you are already aware about that as well. Yourself, you conducted so many tests and you know that what are the weaknesses and what are the problems. So this is the reason that we took these two for as the case study. Now you can see from here that what are the some security risks. Even when we are saying some security risks, you are already knowing about so many security risks. So you can think of that and affect the mobile phones. And what are the malicious apps? So now you are very much aware about these things based on your previous assessments and on your labs. So now you can see from here for the examples, just came up with a few examples by your brainstorming. So what he's saying, uses a bug or security vulnerability to gain the ungranted permissions. Very common. Show the user unselected message, especially commercial messages, phishing emails, wrong messages. Okay, resist or attempt to resist the user efforts to uninstall it. Might be you face this issue in your mobile apps, even in your machines. Sometimes you install the apps, and then if suppose you come to know that this is not good, or even if you don't want to use it, so you notice that you are not able even to uninstall them. So why and what is the reason? So attempt to automatically spread itself to the other devices, hides the files and hide the processes from you. These are the common cases. What the risk what we notice now means normally. Maybe you experience few of them, some of them, or maybe all of them. This depends. Okay. So discloses the user's private information to the third party without our consent. Very common. Okay. This is the reason that you are receiving so many messages, marketing messages on your cell phones. And did you thought for a moment that how come they means receive your number? From where they know that this number is exist? So how come these are all are the issues and the problems? So drain the phone's battery. So sometimes you notice that your phone battery is draining quickly, and even you are not using anything. So how it is? It doesn't mean that there is a hardware issue, but it means that there are the some of the issues in your software, some of the problems, some of the means malicious activities inside your cell phone. They are eating your cell phone's battery. So otherwise, degrade the user's experience with the device. Or there are the things which do like that, and the performance of cell phone they degrade them, and then you are means automatically as a customer will start disliking the product. That this is not. So just see these are the so many approaches. They are not only means linked with only the product. If suppose the product is down, so maybe the user unknown, means most of the users and users, they are not technical. If suppose because of the some of the software or some of the products, if they are lagging, that their products are lagging, their applications are lagging, their cell phones are lagging, as you can see now, the resources because of these resources or because of these issues or malicious activities, the normal person, the normal customer will start thinking maybe this product, which is the hardware, even the cell phone or this is machine, this is not good. And he will recommend to the people, don't go and don't buy this phone. This is very bad. I mean, you just use this one, it is hanging on, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But actually, maybe that is not the problem of the hardware or the cell phone. That's not the problem of your means tablet, or that is not the problem of your laptop. But maybe that is the problem because of the some sort of the software which is not gone through for the proper testing, and which is not gone through means by the security approaches. So you can see how indirectly they have an impact on the products, and they have impact on the chain of the series. So this is very important. So that's why while you are doing the security testing, you need to consider all of these things, and there are so many other things as well. You need to make sure that your software is means safe and sound from all of these issues and problems. So before we go for the testing, so for going for a testing, a successful testing can only be done before you know the issues and problems. You know what could be possible issues. You know what could be possible malicious activities. You know what could be the problems may be, and then you start thinking like a hacker. You start thinking like a means red team, and then you can go for testing. So you can monitor, you can consider, you can keep those things in your mind, and then you can verify about your testing. So this is the reason why we are discussing about these so many different issues, are the malicious activities, are the problems which may be with the cell phone or with the web. So you can see that how they are linked with that one. So in Android operating system security, now we can say that the Android operating system provide us security. I hope we already discussed about that. Most of our operating systems, they are built on the Unix and the Linux. Why they are built on the means their directory system built on that, just because of the concerns of the security. And you know, in Android operating system, they are making it sure at their level best that how your processes can be secure. In your Android cell phone, they are having a concept. That concept is known as the what we can say the sandbox. Okay, what is the sandbox concept is? In a sandbox concept is that each app, each application, whatever you are installing, that will have his own private resources. None of the other app will be allowed to use the resources from that app just because of the security reasons. And when other app is means willing to use the resources, so the other app need to have the permission, particular permission for that only app can use the resources of the other application. That's the concept known in Android as the sandbox. What do you mean by the resources? For example, you are using a WhatsApp. So what the WhatsApp other resources are, what the other application it is using? It is using the contact application because we have the contact application, which is storing our contacts. So if you are means having a WhatsApp, so you are supposed to means use the contact list so then you can be able to means forward your messages to the people. So this is how means this is very important that you need to go accordingly. So now the contact can be used by WhatsApp or any other app with the proper permissions. Without that, they cannot use. Okay. So now in the same way, you can see that for the means network connections, for the camera, for GPS, for Bluetooth, for everything, they are not allowed to be used by the other apps, even within the mobile, Android mobile itself. This is because just to keep and manage the security. So this is with the by default in operating system of the Android. Why we are discussing this? What is the message here? A message here is that whatever the application you are using, we need to make sure that the resources of those application, that application are not freely available even inside the same machine or even inside the same group of applications because we need to manage the security. So these all are the things which are really and truly important we need to consider. So you can see from here that we have the applications. So you can see from means the figure, if I just take you with my mouse pointer. So you can see from here that 1 minute, I just make a pointer option. Yes. So you can see from here that this is the application and then we have the Android operating system permission check. This are Android operating system permission check. So you know that why it is required because we are having the concept about the sandbox in it. And what is the sandbox? So we already discussed. So now you can see that the permissions, the information we again divide into the means different groups. So we can say this is the personal information, this is the sensitive input, and this is the device metadata. So this is how we need to manage and maintain. This is only an example of the security of the Android operating system. We need to consider these while we are considering about our security aspects as well. Furthermore, because we means took already the web app and the Android means applications as a case study, that's why we are discussing these things, so not to be worried. So we are just going to have a background and then we will start about the testing parameters. So as you remember that we just discussed that we need to have the permissions. We must declare the permissions. Without the permissions, we will not be able, even your camera will not be able to use the scanner. Even your scanner will not be able to use your gallery. Even your WhatsApp will not be able to use your contact list. So for that, because this is not the Android class, but just only a quick means idea for you. So for that, whenever we use to give the permissions, we need to give the intentionally permissions, which we normally manage and maintain in the manifest XML file. While you will be learning your Android applications, so you will notice that there is a manifest XML file. That is the main file. So any type of permissions, whatever we want to give to the application, we even give that permission in that particular file. So you just see this is a very simple code. You can if you just see, you will be able to understand. So just go quickly. So you just see here, uses the permissions, Android name, Android permissions, receive SMS. So here we are giving our SMS application, or we are giving the permissions to our Android means phone that he will be, or this app will be means able or eligible to receive the messages. Even for internet connection, we need to define the permissions. Even for camera, we need to define the permissions. For everything, we need to define the permissions like that. This is why, just to manage and maintain this. Now there are so many means apps we have, like suppose we can go for the Google Pay, we can go for the App Store, and we can go also for the third party means stores as well, and we can find out so many different apps. Okay, now what those apps are, if you do remember, I don't know that you were in the previous classes in wireless network security or in the other classes of the security where they were very closely linked and related. And then when we were means analyzing and based on the market statistics, we were discussing that more than 97% of the data which is available at the Google Play stores, which are the billions of the app, they are compromised. And there are so many fake apps as well. And more than 80% of the applications which are available on the App Store, they are also somehow already compromised as well. So if what happens, if suppose you are using the Instagram at your mobile phone and you are not knowing that this Instagram is actually not an actual Instagram application. And this is common. There are so many applications what we are using. They are commonly means the copies which are placed by the vulnerable people, or which are placed by the hackers, and most of us they are using that. What happened most of the time, the people are using the battery savers and the screen locks and so many things, the other applications, but they are not knowing that most of those applications are placed there to means steal your data. They are not the real applications. So now user itself, himself, they are using that one. There are the few applications they are means announcing and claiming for the users, oh, you have the issues, you forget your password, so you can install this application and we can store your all password and that is the secure. What happened? If suppose that application is not the correct application, that is the wrong application. So it means that you are yourself handing over your passwords. Anyhow, that is something means very different direction. Okay, it means there are the good apps as well, but these are the normally activities there as well. So we are not going means further detail for that one, but just give you a means quick means overview so you can feel that what it means and how means much vulnerabilities they can carry to your handphones and to your apps. So we need to be careful, and especially when the means good companies which who are building the softwares, they need to be careful about building the secure software so the user can be on safe side. Again, problem with the Androids. Now, app can have too much permissions. Normally, few of that we need to give them the means permissions. But the issue is with the Android. The problem with the Android is, you know, that in case you suppose you are installing a some application, did you notice that when you are installing a some application, it's asking to you about the some of the permissions? And did you means think for a moment that some sort of the applications which maybe does not have any link with your contacts, which maybe does not have any link with the camera, which maybe does not have any link with your microphone, but they are asking the permissions for that. Why? What is the reason? Now the question is that in case if suppose you are saying that means most of the users they only means whatever the permission when we install the application, whatever the permission they are requesting, most of the people from us they give all the permissions right away, which is very wrong. Even before that, it's very wrong that what the application you are installing, that is the actual or genuine application or not. That's what we just discussed now. But even the worsen is that in case if suppose you are a known person, security known person, and suppose the one of the application is asking you the permissions, so you can go through, you can screen, means having a good screening about that, and you are looking that maybe only the 3 or 4 permissions are really required. Why I give the 6 permissions? This is okay, but what I mean, what I said, that even that is a critical issue. So this is, maybe you start thinking that someone who is wise, who is thinking that how I can give only the 4 permissions. So what is that means critical issue here? The critical issue here is that even if you give the permissions to the 4 out of the 10, your application is working fine. But what happens when the new update version will come and the message will prompt that the updates are available. So you are just going for the update. Whenever you go for the update, by default, what Android will do, by default, it will get granted all the permissions for the 10 options what he was requesting from you, and you gave the 4 permissions. So that is the problem with Android. So now it means that you have to be very careful while you are installing your applications, that which application you are installing. Okay. So these all are the things. So while we are discussing again, these all are the things. The point is, you remember that here you have to be, means thinking, your thought level should be different. Sorry, I had water. What is the different? That what should be the different? The different is that you need to think like a hacker. Okay, so you can be able to, means safe and secure your application. So now these things why I'm sharing with you. So you need to have this all of the information as a hacker, because this information is to the hacker, so they know what are the weaknesses, they know what are the problems. If they want to exploit it, then only you will be able to see that how you can, means overcome with these issues. Because until and unless you are not able to identify, you cannot. Until and unless, if suppose you are doing some mistake, you will not admit it, you cannot fix it. So anyhow, coming back, so you can see from here the examples of the attacks from this figure. This is only the one scenario. So this is a person, this is the malicious page. Okay, this is the evil.html or whatever it is, and then it is autosave in your SD card, and then it can have the full access to your SD card, your memory of your cell phone. To just see that how this is a minor level mistake, that minor level of issue can generate or can create a big level problem for you. Going ahead. Now that was what was we were discussing about that. Now we are going about the designing of the security. So when we discuss about designing of the security, so you can see what are the methods of security. And when we talk about the security, we need to consider all of those things, and especially those major things what we discuss in our labs, like about the SQL injection, like about the scripting, like about everything else. Okay, so now how and what are the methods and how you can go. For example, number one, if an attacker pointed their browser to blah 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 foo.com.password slash password.txt, they would get our password, but nobody knows that file is there, so we are safe. Okay. Our app saves its sensitive user data using the SQLite, which ends up as a file on the local file system. Our authentication database goes down for 2 minutes every night at 4 a.m. During that time, any user can log in without the restriction. We're not going into more detail. There are so many other things as well. But just giving you some pinpoints and the hints that there are the few things. There are the resources. You remember we discussed in our previous classes that we have to manage and maintain our log files as well. Even if suppose we are giving the error message, that message should not be straight and clear from where they can get the information. So the location of the passwords are something wherever whatever we are means uh, means going to save, that should not be retrieved either in log file, either in error message, either in any other way. Whatever the sensitive data where we are placing, and wherever our software is going down for 1 second or for 1 minute or for whatever the time, this shouldn't be informed to anyone. Nobody may be knowing that what's the time. That time should be randomly or something. So otherwise, these are the big loopholes, and we need to be careful about these things. Now, secure authentication. We need to consider that we need to provide a secure authentication mechanism. So don't you think that secure authentication, it means if we apply a password, then it becomes a secure? No, it's only in a start. If you apply a password, then you need to see, did you follow the standard of the password or not? With respect to the characters, special characters, alphanumeric characters, with respect to the length of the password, with respect to the expiry of the password, with respect to the means forgotten standards of the passwords. And on top of that, then when you are asking the password and the registration and these details, are you using the SSL? Are you using the HTTPS or not? So you can see from the one point, you remember the last lecture we discussed. So we need to see about the password management, those things what we discussed in our previous lecture. And if you remember, I told you that these are the only few for your brainstorming, but there are so many things and the list. So we need to, while we are going for a testing, we need to check these all things. Then we apply those all, go through the testing, verify it, okay, then we can be safe from this one point. It doesn't mean that now our software is secure. So we need to do the same thing for the same all of the other aspects as well. So don't you think that if suppose you means prompt a password, then it is okay? No. These all things what we said. Then we need to see what type of application we have. Say for example, if it's a financial application, then we cannot say that this is only the standards what we discussed and password is enough. But then we may go for the two-layer authentication mechanism, or even in some way we can go for the 3 layers. And there are so many things because that we discussed in our previous lecture. So just referring that we have to be secure, make sure about these things. So you can see only in the password area, so many things. Only the session management, so many things. And only not only the protecting the assets, so we need to protect the data, we need to protect the memory, we need to protect the file, we need to protect the system, we need to protect the whole software, we need to protect the process. So we need to think on these all lines, not only providing a password and we say that it is secure authentication, then it's okay. And then even if we apply these all things, after that, secure authentication is done. The second level comes authorization. When we apply these all things what we just discussed now, then okay, the user got success, real user, genuine user, logged in. After that one, the actual game is started after that. That is the authorization. We need to manage in software that for what we are giving the authorization. What resources could be. What I mean by authorization, what we discussed in our previous lecture, or we make it more simple, that if suppose authorization, it means that what kind of the privileges we are giving to the user. If user is a manager, he must have the privileges what only required. If user is a customer, whatever the privileges, whatever he is authorized for those applications, but he or she deserve to. Not more than that. Even our softwares are designed in a way, even those who are admin or administrators, we should not give everything. Only those things we need to give which are really required to perform the operation. Other than that, Nothing. May I give you the one example? When you're purchasing a cell phone, when you're purchasing any new product, so you see that when you're installing, so you can notice that there are so many apps which are by default installed. Because we are discussing about the Android, that's why I'm giving you the Android example. You are allowed to install so many applications. Nobody is stopping you. You are allowed to uninstall applications. Nobody is stopping you. But there are the few applications. Even you wish you cannot uninstall them. Those are the default applications. Start by the operating system, either by the service providers. So what did it mean? That those are not unable to uninstall? No, they can be, but that rights privileges are not given to the customer, not given to the owner of the cell phone. Why? The reason is because they are primary necessary application. They are part of the somehow operating system. And if suppose someone mistakenly do something, maybe he or she will be means damaging his or her cell phone. So that is the one of the example. So you need to understand no 100% rights privileges to anyone, even if it is the admin. So we need to see how much and how we can give. Then that's what same thing what we were discussing. So it came now. The principles of the least privileges. So we need to give the privileges only whatever are required to run the operations. We don't give all the rights, even if it is the admin. Even when you notice you are purchasing the softwares, you have your Windows license, but what do you think? You have everything, every right, every privileges on your this one. They have all the privileges on your Microsoft Office. You have already installed. You can go inside the code and you can edit it. No, you cannot, and they will not give us. If they give us any right to do this, it means we will create a problem. So the bottom line is that we need to give the least privileges which are only required, and we may not give any extra privileges which are not required to fulfill the operation, and disable all of other things, unnecessary services even. Disable SSH, disable VNC, disable close your ports, okay, and do everything what is not necessary. So this is the necessity for the success fully run of our application, for securely run our application. Now you can see from here, sanitizing the input. What do you mean by sanitizing? It's not the same sanitizer what we are using nowadays due to the COVID. Need to understand it. It means that we need to make sure whatever the input is coming. So you remember the input and output what we discussed in the previous lecture. So we need to make sure that our input, whatever is coming, is encoding and filtered. And if it is not coming from the untrusted user input, then only we can accept. Means in other words, we can only accept from the trusted resources. And we may not allow any graphical input. We may not allow any input which is coming from untrusted resources. We may not allow any input which is not related. This is how we will do. This is comes under the security engineer. This is how you need to means guide to the coder or the software engineer that they can stop these things by applying the hard code, hard standards of the coding. So this is how we need to sanitize, remove any SQL code while the user is submitting. So user may not be able to submit any SQL query while it is submitting one user ID or the password, because it may not go for the SQL injection attacks. And there are so many things. So we need to sanitize our input. So I hope you understand what it means by the sanitizing of the input. Then verifying the code. see 95% of all websites have the security flaws. Before your assessment number one and assessment number two, if we claim like that, maybe you believe, you trust on my words, but maybe you start thinking, how come 95% is like that? But now when you go through with this yourself, that's why those your assessments are there. So you can see, you can observe yourself what is the actual things are. But now you can believe easily that yes, true, 95% they are affected. So we need to verify. We need to consider security in the design process. So see now what it is referring? It's referring the same thing. That's what we are discussing from the day first. And we have to start from scratch and we need to consider everything. We need to review the code. We need to audit even our code with respect to the security. Okay. And after that, we have to go through and we read, we check, we audit, we verify, and everything we test. Then we will be able to say that this is okay. Going ahead, security audits is what we discussed. We need to do the security audits. We need to apply the risk assessments, risk analysis. We need to do the penetration testing. What is the penetration testing? The penetration testing is the assessment number one and assessment number two. We need to do that. We need to do manually. We need to do the automatically. We need to see that how, even whatever the standards we are following after the audit and whatever the means checklist, what we discussed in our previous class, we are following it and everything. Once we are done, then again we go for the penetration testing at our own self and just see what are the issues and vulnerabilities are still left. So we can do that. And even at the end of the day, we can do the risk analysis in case if suppose we remove so many, but still there are few, so we need to see what could be the risk analysis for that. Can we release the product or not? So just see, this is very interesting and means things, and they are very interlinked with each other, and they are very simple as well. Going ahead. Now, security audit questions. So this is he is discussing about the security audit questions only. Okay. So security audit questions, that what we discuss means when we are doing the security audit, it doesn't mean that only just go and go through, but there are the few questions what we are means explaining here, just for your brainstorm. And there are so many like what we have done in our for the secure code standards. So here we need to see, and while we are doing audit, that we see that does your system requires the secure authentication password? Does it require only once when the user is going to log in? Does it require more than once? Does it require to go the authentication for each and every page? This depends on the system. When we say that does it require only one? No. Like suppose you see your email addresses, it requires a password once, but then you can go inside, and when you're going to your settings, you want to change, make the changes, again it will ask the password to you. When you're going your banking system, it will ask the password, even the two-way means authentication. But when you are log in and you want to transfer the money, again it will means prompt for the password. So this we need to do, we check like while we are doing that. Then we need to see are the passwords are difficult to crack. It means those things what we just discussed a couple of minutes before. We need to see that all those standards are applied. Are there access control lists, which we commonly call the ACLs, in place or not on the network devices or not? Okay, then we can see about are there the added logs to record who accessed the data, when accessed data, from where accessed the data, and also see that means are the logged they are reviewed or not. What it mean by reviewed? We need to see that maybe our log they are not containing any type of information which may generate or create a problem for us. And we see that what operating system we are recommending. Is that up to the standard or not? You notice while you are having the different application, they are recommending this much RAM is required, this operating version is required, this browser is required. What it mean? That is the recommendation. That is they are managing, maintaining the standards. If user is not using that one, then the means system will not means operating functionally, fully functionally. So system, the user is forced to go to there. Why is or she is forced to go there? Because the reason is to maintain and manage the security. That's what the question, what he's asking now. So have all the unnecessary applications and services been eliminated? Unnecessary services, the ports, is it means turned off or not? Which are not used, which are not required, then why they are? Are all operating systems and the applications patched to the current level or not? We need to see the patches are up to date or not. Operating system are up to date or not. Versions are up to date or not. Our systems are up to date. So you can see that how many these things means there are so many different things. These are the only few of the simple questions for the audit. Is there any disaster recovery plan? Are there any cryptographic tools? Okay. Have the custom built applications been written? So see, these are the few of these simple questions for that. There are so many. So we need to go through with this one. So if we just go back, so you can see this is all when we done with this one, even when we are applying everything. And after that, again, we come back, we are sure that we are done with everything. Then we again come back to the penetration testing. Why we have the penetration testing? This is we are testing ourselves on ourselves, our product and our own self. That maybe we miss few of the things from the previous steps. So we need to do penetration testing. So we can come up again, what are the issues and problems are still there. And we do continue. And finally, we do the risk analysis. So when we are 100%, more than 100% secure and sure, then only we can give the permissions to launch the product. Now, data, when we are saying the data is only a data. But when we think the data with perspective of the security, we see the data in so many different groups. Why I see the data in so many different groups? Because that all of the data require the different level of the security. Say for example, from the table you can see, from the table, data type is a name, email address, and phone and address. So this all data is personal. This all data is sensitive or not. So the name is not sensitive. If anybody is knowing about your name, not a problem. But your email is sensitive, phone number is sensitive, address is sensitive. Okay, so we can see that means for what we can give the permissions. Someone can create, someone can store, someone can send, someone can receive. We cannot, we cannot, we cannot. This is what we need to require. Okay, that are we means our software is allowing to sending a data. Suppose sending a data, why? You remember we just quoted one example that we are receiving the messages SMS and we are not knowing why we are receiving from ABC. And we are thinking how they come to know our means cell phone numbers and our passwords. Sorry, our names. So this is because of these things. If suppose it's not being handled properly, and then they can mislead to the problems. And when the customer comes to know that how it happened, for example, because of the ABC software I'm using, so you can see that this is something not good. I just give you the one example. For your means brainstorming, for your thinking. You notice that there are the few apps at the mobile. When we install those apps, and then when anybody is calling us, unknown person, unknown means which is we don't have the stored number, even from our country or from other country. Those apps they can identify within few seconds about, they can guess about the name of the person. How it is happening? This is just for your brainstorming. You can think about that. Going ahead, data storage locations. We need to make sure that where we are, how it is stored, the safe. So in Android, actually, we have the 5 different persistent type or data storage types. Number one is known as the shared preferences. The shared preferences is actually the key pair values where we store the information or the values information for a temporary purposes. What do you mean by temporary purposes? It means until that application is installed. When we uninstall the application, then it's gone. So what it is, within the application, if suppose we wish to set up our background of our choice, font of our choice, these type of the settings what we make, that is stored actually in shared preferences. And that will remain there inside the application until the application is installed. The moment we uninstall the application, so that's done, that's gone. Then we have the internal storage. That is actually SQLite storage. Then we have the external storage. That it means we can keep outside from the operating system. Like what it mean by the external storage? That means maybe our memory card. Memory card is the external storage data. Then we have the SQLite databases, which are the internal and external as well. We can means use the different sort of the data and we can connect it with our applications. Then we have the network type of the data, which is being stored on the servers. Like what we are having the information about the different temperatures, weathers, and these things. We're not going into detail because that's something different. So we need to see that in case of our application or software is using the data, any sort of, any kind of, how we are managing its data privacy. Because for each of the group or for each of the type, the requirements are different. We need to make sure that how we are doing that. Encryption. So we can easily encrypt the data and we can apply the encryption after saving to the SD card. Because the SD card concept is highly means vulnerable. In case if suppose your cell phone is goes to the someone's hand and someone is just taking your SD card, they means out, then what you will do. So that's why what we need to do. If suppose we are keeping the data, so our software has a ability that it can store in a way the data is encrypted in case if suppose someone is trying to get it. So even in that case, they will not be able to means still our data. Mobile plus the web apps. So again, we come to the OWS. That is the primary thing we will never go away with that. That is the industry standard and with the live data. So you can see with this OWASP, it has the top 10 issues denominated based on the real world scenario issues and targets and problems they are happening. Based on those cases, they identified that what are the 10 means top issues. Number one, that is the identity and protect the sensitive data on the mobile devices. This is the one of the challenge. How to protect your identity, how to protect means your data, how to handle the passwords, credentials, how to do the data means transactions, forwarding data from one place to another place, how to implement the authentications, how to handle the backend APIs, and there are so many things, and how to see about third parties and how to get the consent of the user, and so many things. But there are the few of them, they group them in a 10, and then they can come that these are the top 10 issues. When we call it the issues, so you need to understand there is a problem between the issues and the problems. So the issues are means a sort of the means operations what we required, but they can lead to the problem. Like suppose we are saying about the password credentials. Like suppose we are saying about the identity protection. This is an issue that how we will not handle it properly, then it can lead to the problem. So these are the top 10 issues which are means grouped by the OWASP. Secure HTTPS. So we try to use a secure means mechanism for the HTTPS, hypertext transfer protocol, and S is for secure. We call it secure web. Why we need to do? Because we are trying to avoid the man in the middle attack. Otherwise, means any unauthorized person or a third party can be able to have our conversation. So you can see from here that this is our web browser. We are communicating with the server. So if we are not using the HTTPS, the secure mechanism, so it means that someone is in between can be able to have a conversation. So we need to make sure that everything is like for HTTPS. So now you notice that in your browsers, when you open some website which is without HTTPS, so your website will not be open and you will receive a message at the bottom that you are trying to go to the unsecured web. And then the settings are there in advance. So you can go and then you can say, take me there, whatever the thing. So the thing is, because the whole generation now, the new generation now for the web, it is web apps, they are, means for sure they're coming with the HTTPS. But you know that the billions of the websites are there. So still there are so many websites, they are not using HTTPS, the old websites, when the HTTPS concept was not very much in. So they are still there. So the browser is stopping us that don't go there. It's a probably unsecure. But when we are forcing to take us, so browser can take us there as well. So why the browser is not stopping completely? Because we know that still there are so many websites. They are actually not from the hackers, but they are not shifted to the HTTPS. Anyhow, we need to means make sure that this is done. So in the web security, now we can see that there are a lot of the issues and the problems will be there. We can face like suppose man in the middle. Denial of service is the one of the common popular attack. I will show you the data. You will be amazed to see that how much the volume of the DDoS attack is. Just remind me at the end of the lecture, I will show you. So how attack is performed, they are actually is performing attacks maybe on any individual server on your machine or any organization. They are trying to jam your traffic, slowing down your traffic. So the people who are trying to approach you, they are not able to approach, are they able to approach with a delay or the number what you are expecting, that is you are not able to receive that particular number. So how you can handle that? While you are doing the testing, you consider that as well. In case suppose this is the case, how you will be able to packets another issue. Maybe you need to see that maybe the packet sniffing, listening of your traffic while you are sending the traffic to the network, depend on your software. These are the possible problems and issues. So how you can handle that? Solutions are you need to use the means secure protocols, SSH, HTTPS, and these things. Don't let me creep on your LAN or Wi-Fi. So these are the suggestions and the problems what they are. But as a security engineer, we need to consider. Our focus is that we are elaborating that what is the security testing while you're doing that, how you can see that. Password cracking. This is, everybody is willing and wishing to do that. And there are the tools as well, like the brute force attack, like the dictionary attacks. There are the tools. You're supposed we have the weak passwords. They can be taken, they can be broken with a very limited amount of time. So that's why you go back and we discuss. We need to have the standard password, and you see that having a management of password itself is a big concept. We need to manage it and everything. Then phishing, social engineering. So, for example, there are so many things we are receiving problems, phishing. Every day we are receiving. We have a fund transfer to you. You have fund in your PayPal account, so do this. You have your insurance is expired, do this. Your bank account is locked, do this. You have a job, come here. Hey, I found your profile from ABC. I really likes you. I saw your picture. You are really beautiful. I want to communicate you. Hey, you got the job. Just forward us this detail. These all are the ways of phishing. We need to be very much careful about that. So we need to care how we can manage these things as well. If you more privileges, this is the most important point. That's what we were discussing a couple of minutes before. Don't give even a point one extra privilege to anyone. Only our software should allow the privileges what they are required. We will give even more, then we will be in trouble. This is the baseline. Very important we need to understand. Okay. Then about the cross-site scripting. So you know already, we're done with your labs. We need to consider that as well. We need to have precautionary measures for that as well. We need to be careful about these all of the things. Okay. Then SQL injection. Now I'm just going a bit faster because these all are the things that we covered already, and these are the issues actually that what we can be is facing. So we need to consider these all things while we are doing the testing. Okay. So that's why we can say that what is the secure testing. So we need to see these all of the things in a very proper. Now you can see from this SQL injection. So this is now very much expert SQL injection that in case if suppose we do the some changes with the query and if we suppose use the forms to post that one and then we can do anything. The simplest and abstract is about the SQL injection. So you can see from here that it is possible to get the access up to the database and we can be able to damage the things. Thinking like an attacker, this is the most important. If you will start thinking, it's your product. But you remember when we started lecture, we said that you need to shift the thought. Now, when you're going for a testing, don't think as a security engineer. Don't think as the developer. Think you that you are a attacker. Now you want to means exploit your software, whatever the thing you already done. Then you can only be possible. And when you will be thinking like a hacker at this level, you will be a strong hacker because those hackers they does not have the much information about your software. Well, you are the builder, you are the security engineer, so you are knowing from all of the phases from your SDLC, so you are aware about everything. So you are knowing about so many things, so you can find out the so many possible vulnerabilities. Sorry. So you need to think in a way and these lines so as you can be able to fix that one. So you can see planning for the goal, view your source code, what your HTTPs, what your error messages, how they are coming, where they are coming, what is the weakness, what is the issues. So you need to consider all these things what we discussed. You need to consider also on top of that about these attacks. But these attacks are not only you are supposed to consider because this is only a case study we just discussed about the mobile app and about the web app. But it depends what type of the application you are building. So it means that we need to consider all of those things which are linked or related to that one, to that our software. Input forms, we need to verify. We need to see the get and post methods. We need to make sure that we are receiving the correct input, sanitizing input. Okay, we are not allowing any means wrong input where can be utilized for SQL injection, where can be utilized for scripting, where can be utilized for any other thing to damage validations of the forms. We are doing the validations of the forms at the client level. We're doing the means validations at the server side as well. Why we are doing these things before that even we are doing this to means make the sanitizing of our input as well because input is very important. We need to do everything. We need to make sure that everything is correct. User input. We need to bound the users because most of the users they are not technical, they are not aware. They unintentionally maybe they provide the wrong practices, the wrong inputs. So we need to make sure that how they are, what input they are, how to sanitize the input. If the input is not correct, then we may not accept, we may not allow, we may not execute. So these all are the things we need to the security system, security testing. Guessing files and directories. This is the something you will find so many websites, so many websites. This is the issue. And this is something very critical issue. Maybe it would take you 1 minute. Like you see from here, from this web. So you can see from here, blah, 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 and secret.h. This shouldn't be, the name shouldn't be appearing in a clear message. Sometimes the people are like suppose saying that blah, 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 blah. This one is the page 12.php. Shouldn't be like this. It means it's easy for hacker. So it means he knows that there are the 11 pages and maybe there are more pages after 12. So what he will do, he will just only write the same address and he will make it 11, make it 10, make it 12. So he can be able to reach to the pages where we don't want to give the permissions. This is something known as the guessing. So it is the way maybe he will be reaching directly to our this point. So you notice in the good websites, most of the time we open anything at the top browser, it shows us something which is means the link address is something different. It is intentionally that it can help us, it can handle us, we can handle us the security. Okay. Now, other attacks other than this, from get parameters, getting parameters from the get, hidden input fields. Need to be sure that there is no hidden field. Cookies, not the cookies what this gentleman is eating, but those cookies with for the web browsers, cross-site scripting, and so many things. We need to be very, 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 very careful about these all of the things. Thank you very much. I hope you understand the points, which is truly important, really important, and we are thankful. These are the references we try to take from the different resources from the books and everywhere, because from OWASP as well, to make it sure we are going with the that is all about the security. Now, if you have any question, you're most welcome. Make ready your devices as we can go for attendance. So here we just start.